Texas Stadium, or for that, was it Thanksgiving concert that Creed did? And
with Dallas, and the guys flying around and all that.
Even then, they were just absolutely shredding.
They had it. They still got it. Fastball all these years later. So you want to get people going for the race, you might want to mix in a little bit of Creed and some Nickelback. We're going to mix in a little Ross Bjork as he spoke last week. And Austin and I obviously was there Thursday. Austin was. We talked so much about some of the impacts, things with the settlement. But really something that we didn't get to that we wanted to bring up on this show to kick things off was a lot of what Ross had to talk about with the stadium and game day, not just atmosphere, but improvements. And these are conversations that we have had before, and you're going to always have at Ohio State. When you are bestowed a great responsibility, and sometimes I would say the word burden, but you're bestowed a legacy, not just college football cathedral. I'm talking about one of the greatest sporting platforms ever created, and that is the shoe, that is Ohio Stadium. But there's inherent issues with that. It was built so long ago. It's coming up on 100 years. It's got all these things. There's only so much you can do. But I do appreciate Ross Bjork for saying we're not going to stop. And that's something he talked about when he discussed the stadium and game day atmosphere and what he's really thinking of for some of the fans. Here's Ross Bjork last week talking about that.
We are working on new video board, new LED ribbon boards. Can't happen for this year. Hopefully by fall of 26. So those things are all being sound system as well, a distributed sound system. There's always going to be continued improvements around the shoe, but game day atmosphere, I think, can just take a lift. And it's really about just adapting to the times. It's modernizing, it's cleaning a lot of things up. It's taking our script and kind of making some things shorter, layering, just different elements that I think I really, the plan is really, really strong. And I think our fans are going to gravitate towards it.
And cut off that, more from Ross Bjork here about the improvements that they might be able to make to the game day atmosphere. For a lot of you out there listening as fans and season ticket holders and people that go to the shoe, here's Ross Bjork talking about improving some of that.
I think it goes back to how do we weave in traditional elements but modernize music, or when we play certain music, and really have a call to action. We're by moving the band going to the north, the Block O group expands. So they'll have more in the Block O membership block. So working on elements like that. So it's fan engagement. It's increasing, I think, student energy in a lot of ways. And then it's kind of how we script the game. We're always going to have to do projects around the stadium, knowing that it's an aging stadium, knowing that, yes, we do need to make money. And I think there's a lot more that we can do from that standpoint. But this year we also added 2,000 tickets that don't require a donation, and we lowered the price. So how do we continue to do those kind of things so that we can speak to all of our fans, and that when they walk in there, they're like, okay, I'm coming back.
And that's Ross Bjork talking about it last week, Ohio State Athletic Director, about some things in fan engagement and the game day atmosphere. And Austin, there's a lot that struck me. I appreciate his honesty where he said, we got to make money here. We got to turn a profit. But how much that he spoke about it's Ohio State. People will come back if they played in a parking lot. He doesn't take that for granted. He doesn't take it for granted that the football team is so good, that there is so much history and so much legacy, that people would walk in and pay for a really bad hot dog and sit on an uncomfortable seat and, eat stale popcorn and drink a flat beer and watch some football game and walk home and go, we had a great time. Like, it'd be so easy just to sit there and say, it's Ohio State football. It's going to be packed no matter what. That's not his mindset, and I think that's fantastic from him.
I think it's important that Ohio State is not being complacent about that, because they have two phenomenal products to sell, which is, you mentioned the Horseshoe is a college football cathedral. It is one of the most famous venues in sports, not just college football, across the national landscape. There aren't a lot of 100,000 seat stadiums just popping up anywhere across the globe. And the fact that 100,000 are always in that venue when Ohio State is playing is significant. And that's the other part of that product, is that the Buckeyes are, year in and year out, one of the most powerhouse, prestigious programs in college football. They win a lot of games, and their fans are passionate. As you said, they would show up to watch them play anywhere. But you can't take either of those facts for granted. You have to continue to recruit and develop players to keep your program competitive. That also includes an NIL perspective, which is where the money comes in as well. And you have to make sure that you keep up with the times with the Horseshoe. It's old and it's not going to get any younger. And there's no incentive, and it's too expensive to knock it to the ground and start over. Nobody would want that. It is a landmark. It is a national historic venue that you would not be able to replace. So it's how do you make it so that someone has to pay a lot of money for that ticket in the first place? Are they only going to do it once, or what can you do to make sure that they want to keep coming back and it's not just like contingent on who Ohio State plays or when they play or how they play? And there's a 1,000 factors that go into that, and it's not the same for every single fan and not the same for every single situation. But that's why they're continually looking to evolve and find solutions to check as many boxes as they can for as many different people. That's what you have to do when you have 100,000 people in a 100,000 seat stadium. And I think it's not every decision that Ross Bjork makes is going to go over well with the majority of the fan base, or, who knows what percentage is going to give him a thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't know that the overall sentiment for the hospitality and the new suites down there in the South End, I think most people are probably against that, to be honest, but they don't need that to suit the entirety of the fan base. It needs to be targeted to a group that wants and needs and can afford to pay for it. So not every decision, as I said, is going to be popular, but I actually applaud the initiative to take it, whether they are positive or negative with the feedback. They have to keep going down this road.
And the thing is, it's been that way for so long. There's going to be a little adjustment period, but to your point, Austin, I think as long as they're thinking about the fans in the right way, moving on forward with it, the changes eventually will kind of come over to the other side. And if it's all for the fans, good football, you can't ask for much more. Well, not that we've had enough changes in college football. There might be yet another one coming to a major part of college football and college athletics. This one has to do with the transfer portal. We'll explain it next. It's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
Head to 971thefan.com to listen on demand and subscribe to all our podcasts. Wasting time has never been easier. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance is prepared for what's next and protects what matters most to you. With independent insurance agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova Insurance is an easy win for your peace of mind. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium, presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
AgPro has been family owned and operated for over 64 years. We take pride in developing long-lasting relationships and offering first-class customer service. Need a new tractor, parts for your used equipment, or reliable service? AgPro has you covered. AgPro is here to serve you and your operation as your hometown dealer. Visit us today at any of our AgPro locations or go online to agproco.com to get started with your AgPro experience.
Much like a vampire, we need to be invited into your house. But once we're in, we never leave. Listen to The Fan on your Alexa or Google Home smart speaker. Just say play 97.1 The Fan and prepare to be amazed. Do it now.
They're trained. They're prepared.
Let's do it.
They're Ohio's undefeated plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling team. And they're here to tackle your problems. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
The future of recycling is now at Rumpke Waste and Recycling. The recycling leader has opened North America's largest, most technologically advanced recycling center right here in Central Ohio. This one-of-a-kind facility features interactive displays, educational opportunities, and the ability to process over 60 tons of recycled material per hour. Rumpke is committed to recycling and sustainability efforts. And for more than 90 years, Rumpke has worked to make sure the items you place in your recycling bin get used again. Visit Rumpke.com to learn how you can team with Rumpke to put less trash in our landfills and more of it to good use.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Plenty of clouds around, warm and humid, and not much breeze out there to help cool things off. And a slight chance of a late-day shower or storm on this Monday. Temperatures around 80. Overnight will fall back down to around 70 with mostly cloudy skies. And after a pretty dry start, again a chance of a late-day shower or storm on Tuesday with highs around 80 degrees. With your 10 weather impact forecast, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz on The Fan.
The best damn radio show in the land. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
Well, we've had a lot of changes recently over college football. Let's just throw one more in, sprinkle it on top, add it to the list. Here we are. And it has to do with the transfer portal. It's The Buckeye Show right here on The Fan. I'm Matt Fontana. He is Austin Ward. So really, everything that kind of came down really 2 weeks ago now at this point, Austin, about the settlement and eventually now players having revenue sharing and all that has actually opened this window up to the discussion about the transfer portal. And before we go any further, Austin, just want to get your thoughts on it. I'll give mine as well, like where we're at currently with the transfer portal. And, you know, go ahead. I want you to go first here. You covered the game. You've been around it a lot longer than I have. Just your thoughts on the evolution. Because, you know, transfer portal was always a thing. And I always remember, you had to sit out or if you went up versus going down in divisions and all that. Just where do you think we're at, your opinion on the transfer portal?
Yeah, it's been challenging, I think, to monitor it, to cover it. And that's just on the outside. To be in it, I know how difficult it is for, let's just use Ohio State. I mean, for Ryan Day, for Mark Pantoni, for position coaches to deal with this when you have so much uncertainty about your roster. You know, no one's going to feel sorry for the Ohio States of the world, to be honest with you. I mean, they're still recruiting at a very high level. They don't actually, lose all that often. They're one of the most successful in terms of retention of their roster. So it has not been a major problem for them, and most people aren't going to listen to their complaints when Ryan Day says, oh, well, after we won the national championship, we only had 5 days to deal with the portal and retention and look for other solutions. Well, no one is going to shed any tears for them. That is a first world problem. But when you're looking around the rest of college football, it's hard to wrap your arms around it. It's hard for the coaches. I think it's wound up being much harder for players to find the playing time and or finances that they expect when the riches are going to be on the other side of the fence for them when they leave via the portal. And it doesn't usually work out that way. There are more failures than there are success stories, I think, by and large, when you look at the numbers and how many people wind up without a spot at all in the transfer portal. So it depends on which specific aspect of that we want to look at. I think it's good for player movement is good for the sake of the game. I would hate for there to be overall more restrictions put on it. I think windows of movement are important. I think that's come up. I actually think window is important to stress there. I think having 2, and then there was a time they were kicking around, maybe there needs to be more, or maybe you can transfer at any time. Like you have to have rules in place to govern a sport. And that's beneficial to everyone. That's beneficial to the players. It's beneficial to the fans. It's beneficial to the coaching staff. It's beneficial for everybody. So I think that, the NCAA and the member schools kept running into lawsuits. And say, oh, well, you can't do this and you can't keep them from doing that. It doesn't make sense. They're not employees. And they'd say, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll let them have a transfer portal window here. And then they say, oh, well, I would like to transfer in April after spring ball. Like, well, how can you stop me from doing that? And they'd say, oh, okay, well, now we'll let that happen. And I think on the other side of the House settlement, Matt, we're in a spot where they can sort of walk some of that back. When you look at the contracts that are going to be in place, the NIL deals with schools, there's going to be, some motivations that you have to stay through an academic year. I think that's the way Ohio State's are going to be set up, that it's going to be a July to June contract. So are you going to walk away from that guaranteed money and bet on yourself elsewhere? Maybe, maybe not. But I do think that we're about to enter in a situation that should be more clearly defined and better competitively for college football programs than it is currently.
I think the transfer portal is extremely broken. And my bother is DJ Ungalele. Move on, man.
Yeah.
You don't need 6. And I know that even before that, like, was it Ben Mock or was it Matty Mock? I think it was Ben Mock at Cincinnati. And he got like a 7th year because his arm injury and all that. Like, that. My only issue with the transfer portal is that, number one, I do think players should be able to transfer. If a coach leaves, if you're not getting the fair shake that you want, you should be able to go. But the over and over and over again, because you can't find a spot, and instead of just realizing maybe this isn't in the cards,
Yeah.
and transferring from school to school to school to try to find a starting spot that, I'm sorry, the harsh reality is maybe you don't deserve one. But by you going to that school and some coach wants to make an impact, now he's got to sit a sophomore down and go, sorry, man, this was your spot the whole time. You've been here for 2 years waiting for your time. Yeah, sorry. You can go into the transfer portal then too, and just perpetuate this whole thing over and over again. I've always said, and the reason we're bringing it up is because eventually they are going to go to a one-window transfer. And this is where Ohio State is actually a little bit in the minority, because there was an Athletic article last week discussing this, about how eventually it's going to probably get to a single transfer portal. And there's 2 right now. There's one in December and there's one in April. So there's one in December as soon as your season ends, before bowl games, or sometimes even like during bowl season, people can transfer on out. And then, to your point, Austin, usually April's like spring ball's about done. Maybe you've seen the writing on the window, things like that, and you kind of move on. There is discussion to go towards one. Here's where Ohio State's in the minority. They have kind of made comments that they would actually prefer it to stay in the spring, where it sounds like in this Athletic article, it might all be in January, including one person describing it as an 80-20 split, January versus sometime in the spring. So January would be obviously still college football playoff season, depending on when the schedules, all that kind of stuff goes on. And that's where it would be, versus in April when everything's done, spring ball is done. Would you have, just on those 2, Austin, do you have a lean on which one do you think would be more beneficial, or which one do you think would help more, January versus sometime in the spring?
Yeah, I think the 80-20 split makes sense to me, because 120 programs are already done with their season by the time you get into January. So it's the first world problem that I'm talking about for Ohio State. The fact that they are almost always going to still be playing games in January, and that Georgia is going to be playing games and Texas is going to be playing games, and whoever else in the Big Ten. That's those programs, the best of the best. They're also generally not reliant on the transfer portal. So I think that it does make some sense that that's why everyone else wants it structured that way. And if it comes at the expense of making life more difficult for Ohio State when it's preparing for a national championship, that's probably a trade that they should make, and they're probably okay making. Now, it does put a lot more on their plate, and they had to deal with that last year on the build-up all the way through. Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, National Championship game. They had players leaving, and some were deciding if they were going to stick around, like Devin Brown did. Some decided not to stick around through that whole process, that they had to go find their next spot. And you can understand why. And Ohio State didn't pressure them one way or the other. And I think that's also why they've been so proficient at managing the transfer portal, is that they have a common sense approach to it. But yeah, Ohio State's preference is also tied up in the fact that the entire academic and athletic calendar for college football needs to be blown up and start from scratch and rebuild this thing, including summer OTAs, and the way that spring ball has always traditionally been done probably doesn't need to be done that exact same way, especially if you can do some of this in late May or June and prepare for the season in a more NFL-style approach. I think that's where Ohio State lands, and that's also why I tend to agree. That's the program that I cover and deal with on a day-to-day basis. I can understand why that's beneficial and why they have made that case that that's how it should be reconstructed. I agree with them. I also can see why they may not get their way for April, and they will just have to deal with that and suck it up and deal with it in January while they're still playing games, because everybody else in college football is ready to move on. And the coaches that say they want to have a good idea of what their roster looks like and build through spring ball, the traditional spring window, and not have to deal with, well, somebody decided afterwards that there was a better NIL opportunity or they didn't like their playing time and then they leave in late April. I can understand the frustration for that. You'd like to be able to go through an entire year knowing what your roster looks like. Ohio State has just made a pretty conscious decision to set up theirs on a June or a July to June basis. And if that becomes more complicated for them, I bet they figure it out.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's something that Ohio State, I think, eventually will have. Obviously, it's Ohio State if there's a draw. So it's like a little give and take where that portal's going on. They have practice going on, but I'm assuming a lot of people would be interested in the fact that it's Ohio State, while there's other schools that aren't playing that people would hang the phone up when the coach calls and goes, don't even worry about it, I'm not going to school there. So there's always some give and take. And if you can get the kids in for spring ball too, exactly to your point about other scheduling changes there, that could be the other side of it as well. Well, there's a streak going on at Ohio State. It's wide receivers in the first round. Can we get another one with Carnell Tate? I'm pretty sure we all know who's going to get it the year after him, but we need a little bridge here with Carnell Tate. And there was something that Matt Miller had heard from some people around the NFL about what they like about Carnell Tate. We'll get to all that coming up back in 2 minutes here on the Buckeye Show.
When sudden illness or injury strike, Ohio State offers 3 types of urgent care to meet any of your needs. From traditional urgent care to our specialized orthopedic urgent care for activity-related injuries and advanced urgent care for more serious injury and illness, Ohio State's experts treat everything from broken bones to ear infections and colds and flu. When your illness or injury can't wait, the choice is clear.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. Summer's heating up, and so are the deals at Germain Toyota of Columbus. Whether you're cruising to the lake or hauling your weekend gear, Germain, well, they've got the truck to help you get it done. Right now, get 2.99 APR for up to 72 months on the rugged 2024 Tacoma, or step up to the powerful 2025 Tundra, also 2.99 for 72 months. These summer savings, they won't last forever. So visit Germain Toyota on the corner of I-70 and Bryce Road, or online at germaintoyota.net.
Come on over to Heartland and join our family.
Now, community banking is the lifeblood of the American financial system, building strong, lasting relationships. We're just better able to help guide you down life's road. Flexibility is paramount to success. Community banking is alive and well in the Heartland.
I'm Scott McComb. Come on over to Heartland, where banking really feels good.
Where banking feels good.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Things are popping at Al's Delicious Popcorn. With over 80 flavors to choose from, we have something for everyone. From classics like caramel cashew, white cheddar, and our famous vanilla butternut, to new flavors like chicken and waffles and spicy barbecue. They are all made fresh and they are all delicious. Visit us online at alspopcorn.com or come see us and experience the best service in town at 1500 Bethel Road in Columbus. Al's Delicious Popcorn.
The Buckeye Show is sponsored by CareSource, proud to be your home for Ohio State athletics. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
If you still have a weird rash from jumping in Mirror Lake, we can be friends. This is the Buckeye Show.
Well, Ohio State has had quite the first-round wide receivers over the last couple of years. And, in fact, just in the last, 4 drafts, they've had more first-round wide receivers the last 4 drafts than some schools have had in their entire history. They got a streak going. Can Carnell Tate keep that alive? It's the Buckeye Show here on The Fan. I'm Matt Fontana, Austin Ward alongside. So here is the streak for Ohio State. 4 straight NFL drafts that at least one Ohio State wide receiver has gone in the first round. Of course, it was 2 with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave back in 2022. Jackson Smith-Njigba goes in 23, Marvin Harrison in 2024, and this past year, Emeka Egbuka in 2025. He went to Tampa Bay. So we all know that the 2027 draft will almost assuredly have a first-round wide receiver when Jeremiah Smith gets his name called, probably pretty quick in that one. The question is, can Carnell Tate make it 5 consecutive this year coming up in 2026? Now, an NFL East regional scout had talked to Matt Miller, the scout telling him, ESPN's Matt Miller, draft analyst, quote, "I'm all in on Carnell Tate. He's big, but his technical ability as a route runner is impressive. He's really good at generating separation with his size and his start-stop ability. He's a really good wide receiver, too, in the pros." And I don't think that's coming off as a shot, at Carnell Tate. And I just think there's something that we even talked about last week, Austin, about the trend of the Ohio State receivers that are just big. And Carnell Tate is one of them. Certainly Marvin Harrison is that. Emeka Egbuka's not overly big. Neither was Wilson or Chris Olave or even Jackson Smith-Njigba. But when I see that kind of guy and I see that technical ability that I know he's getting with Brian Hartline, and certainly just in that room, and, you always hear that phrase of iron sharpening iron and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I just think like a guy like Carnell Tate, and I would just say this. If I was a team and I was leaning, and I said the same thing that the scout is saying, he is big. He's a crisp route runner. I think he's got some explosiveness to him that we've seen at times, but even more maybe even this year coming up. And I was really just kind of on the fence about him. That thing that would just push me over would be like, he went to Ohio State. And he was there and found time to play at Ohio State with that wide receiver room. And I just know he got some really good coaching and had really good players around him to make him that much better. Like, I was really thinking about Carnell Tate. I really think the thing that pushed me over the edge is Ohio State. So at this point, I would say without even a season played, he's got a real good shot to keep that streak alive and go in the first round himself.
Yeah, do you want to be an NFL general manager who passes on an Ohio State wide receiver?
That's right. Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that'd be good for your job security. You'd have to make a really compelling argument for any other wide receiver. And I'm not saying that the only good wide receivers in the country play at Ohio State, but as the track record, and if you're leaning one way or another, it should favor the Buckeyes, especially it's not like these guys have been lacking in productivity once they get to the NFL level. When you're talking about Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and JSN, Marv, as he got better and better as his rookie year went along for the Cardinals, and going back before that, Terry McLaurin, and Paris Campbell has been injured, but it's not hard to find Mike Thomas breaking records before that. Mm-hmm. So there's a pretty lengthy resume here for Ohio State wide receivers. And it even goes back further than that. If we want to go back to the 2000s and Anthony Gonzalez and Ted Ginn and, on down, I'm leaving 15 guys out of this conversation.
Dane Sanzenbacher fan. Didn't quite pan out in the NFL, but I was a big fan of his.
Well, but he's doing great radio work now. So
he is. I almost had a show lined up to do it with Dane, and I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. But unfortunately, something happened anyway. But yeah, I did a show with Devere Posey. That's a good one too. Somebody posted a bunch of Johnny Dixon highlights today. I think the Big Ten did, and I was like, man, and that's the crazy.
That senior year, whoa.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like that, Devin Smith and Philly Brown. Like there's just so many that, and again, they all want to go to the pros and all have that, but just so many of them had just electric collegiate careers, at Ohio State. And you're right. That's we dive into the current part of it and the streak that we're on and all that, but you just go back and there's just so many that were just extremely productive receivers, for this offense over the years.
Yeah, and Carnell Tate is going to be one of those next in line because the reality is Jeremiah Smith is going to get double covered on 95% of the snaps he takes this year. I'd be stunned if he doesn't. There might be 50% of the snaps where he's getting triple covered. That is the choice that defensive coordinators are going to have to make. And the person that's going to benefit the most from that is that Carnell Tate would be wide receiver 1 on virtually every other roster in college football this season. He is that good. And you look at the numbers, and if it's the national conversation, because I believe strongly that the folks in Columbus and the Ohio State fans, they know how competitive the Carnell Tate recruitment was, how passionately Brian Hartline believed and still believes in the full upside of Carnell Tate. Nobody needs that explanation. And everyone who watches every play of Ohio State and has seen the catches and the touchdowns that are on Carnell Tate's ledger right now, they know that the routes are good. They know that he's big and strong and getting bigger and stronger as we speak right now this summer, and that he's not going to get shortchanged in an offense that's going to lend itself to his skill set. But beyond that, he's going to be finding himself in a ton of one-on-one situations, and then all that stuff will be spotlighted even more because he's going to make cornerbacks look absolutely silly with how great those routes are. Or he's going to get red zone opportunities where he is just posterizing guys because he is so big and strong and the catch point is up there and he doesn't put the football on the ground once it hits his hands. He's an elite wide receiver. And I the part that's fascinating to me, and you said it wasn't a shot, that they say he's going to be a really good wide receiver too in the pros. Like why limit that? If this scout is already saying that he's all in on Carnell Tate right now after 2 years, like, why put a ceiling on what that potential could be like? I mean, I know that he's not meaning that as a negative, and that wide receiver 2s, there are only 32 teams in the league. That means that they view him right now as someone who can be a top 64 wide receiver in the world. That's not an insult to a normal human, but it feels like it's in some ways a slight to his ability because he doesn't have 2,000 yards yet in his career, or he's not a 20 touchdown guy. He's going to put up, if the numbers are what you're waiting for anybody out there, and I'm not meaning to pick on this one specific quote reported by ESPN and Matt Miller there, but from an anonymous scout, like, you're going to get that whole package. If you're waiting to see that, I don't know what the fuss about Carnell Tate is. You're going to see it when he gets these one-on-one opportunities this year. And that's what, once teams get burned by that, and they going to take a body away from Jeremiah Smith and try and double cover 2 wide receivers at once, good luck with that, because Brandon Ennis still exists and Max Clare still exists. Like, these guys are going to put up really good numbers. Jeremiah is the center of gravity that draws a lot of that attention, and deservedly so. But Carnell Tate is going to be, I think, the biggest beneficiary of that, and it's going to be miserable for defenses trying to stop Ohio State.
I'm just going to maybe play devil's advocate for a second. And if I really wanted to pick apart Carnell Tate, where he's got the size, the route running, I think he's got really good hands, maybe the speed, maybe that's a little bit. He's going to be a guy that's going to be in the 4.5 range. But again, I don't think that limits him. And I think he's also much quicker on the field than maybe a hand-timed 40.
Yeah.
And that'll change. And that's me just playing devil's advocate. Like, I think Carnell Tate is going to be a first-round wide receiver. He should be a first-round wide receiver. And I think anybody that takes him would be really happy with that. And we just, the shift in the NFL where so many of these receivers are coming out now just so much more polished, ready to make an instant impact. Like you said, Austin, I just don't know how you go wrong saying I'm going to take one that played at Ohio State. It just seems to be a pretty smart thing to do, kind of like taking linemen out of the Big Ten. That's usually something that you just want to do. It's a really good idea to kind of focus in on that. Well, speaking of some of the younger players trying to step up and find some time for Ohio State, which of the freshmen have a chance to make an impact this season coming up? We'll dive into that next. It's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
A lot of hosts have been on our airways in the past 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Anyway, sorry for that. The Fan.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Working your way through that honey-do list? That means more flushes, more showers, more fiddling with the thermostat. Trust the pros at the Waterworks with your plumbing and drain cleanings and repairs and all your heating and cooling needs. Our certified pros can repair or replace your furnace or air conditioner. Clogs? Call the Waterworks. Drain cleaning? Call the Waterworks. Plumbing issues? Call the Waterworks. Furnace repairs? Call the Waterworks. The Waterworks. Trusted neighborhood plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling experts.
Hey, Ohio State fan, are you ready for game day? Get hyped and get your crew going with the Buckeye Meal at BK. For $20, you'll get one juicy flame grilled Whopper sandwich, one original chicken sandwich, 2 mouthwatering cheeseburgers, 3 crispy golden small fries, and 3 refreshing small drinks. Grab your $20 Buckeye Meal today and share the taste of victory. At BK, have it your way. You rule. Limited time only at participating Ohio area restaurants. Tax extra. BK is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
It's Kubota Orange Days. From America's #1 selling compact tractor to zero-turn mowers and versatile RTVs, get your perfect match delivered to your door. Now through June 30th, get 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,500 off BX23S tractors. See the details at KubotaOrangeDays.com.
Visit BuckeyeKubotaDealers.com to find a dealer near you.
The best outcomes for treating cancer come from early detection and early diagnosis.
The James Cancer Diagnostic Center at Ohio State
is designed to provide rapid evaluation and a clear diagnosis.
We are transforming care by giving patients direct access
to cancer experts who study and treat cancer every day.
If you think you have cancer, the choice is clear.
Choose the James Cancer Diagnostic Center.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for mouth-watering meals and appetizing ingredients. And no matter what tasty choice you make, our low prices add up to big savings. Plus, you get over $600 in digital coupons each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump and points. At Kroger, you always get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
T-Bone and Tybus.
Their priority's been winning football games and all these schools making money off it.
Are you saying that these kids didn't come to play school? Is that what you said?
T-Bone and Tybus Mornings on the Fan is sponsored by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
The big focus in America today is on your health, and you're determined to look beyond pills and steroids and surgery to feel your best, right? So I want to talk to the person who is in pain right now. Or maybe it's someone you love. You've done everything they told you to do, and the pain just keeps coming back. Hey, it's Tybus Powell for QC Kinetics. They are different. These are not quick fixes. This is a revolutionary treatment that works to give your body long-term relief. You'll meet face-to-face with Dr. Aaron Wilkoff and the QC Kinetics medical team. They'll explain how their regenerative treatments take your body's own healing power and helps heal and restore your damaged tissue. These are well-respected protocols that include potent and powerful cellular level treatments. QC Kinetics has helped tens of thousands of people, so many of them right here in Columbus, Ohio. They'd be honored to help you as well. Yes, you can say goodbye to that chronic pain and live your best life. Find out if you're a good candidate. The consultation is free. Go to qckinetics.com/Columbus or call 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Weston Air Heating and Cooling and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
Ryan Day's favorite radio show. Probably. Maybe. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
Well, Ryan Day's got quite the freshman class coming in, as they do pretty much every year. And without a doubt, Austin, again, you've covered this team for a long time. There's always a couple that just carve out some minutes and maybe some bigger roles than other. Which Ohio State freshman could be making an impact in 2025? We'll discuss right here. It is the Buckeye Show here on The Fan. I'm Matt Fontana. He's Austin Ward, and we were joined by Patrick Murphy last week on the show, and Murph joined us for Beers and Buckeyes, and this is his article over at Bucknuts where he runs through some of the freshmen that he might think could see some time, potentially make an impact for the Buckeyes coming up in 2025. He starts with my answer. It's number one, and it's the easy one to do because he's a five-star prospect, top-ranked corner, number 5 overall player in 2025 recruiting class. That's Devin Sanchez. Now, he enters a secondary that obviously safety, we're kind of good there. I think about that corner room a lot with Lorenzo Styles, probably maybe more of that nickel. You've got Davison Igbinosun, who's played a lot. And I just think that, especially with the corner position, when they rotated enough, that Devin Sanchez is going to get time. And I know he's going to play. Am I ready to sit here, Austin, and say unequivocally with everything that I got that he's going to be a starter by the end of the season? No. But I think Jermaine Matthews is going to keep that job. I don't want to think about injuries. I'm not bringing that up in this scenario. I guess I just sit here and I say between Matthews, Igbinosun, and Styles, I think that's a pretty solid three-man rotation. So I expect Sanchez to get some time, and I'd love to be wrong because I can't wait to see him on the field. But I don't know if he's just going to quite be able to carve out that full-time role by the end of it.
Yeah, and that's not the only group that's potentially standing in Devin Sanchez's way with Aaron Scott, also depending on which outlet you choose to believe with the recruiting rankings, either a 4 or 5-star prospect a year ago, now with another, a full year in the by Maradi program, the strength program over there. I got to stop saying that. I just can't get it out easily enough. But, it's, he's got that experience. He's been in the program now for a year. And he's, you think about Aaron Scott, he's aware that everyone is just looking to Devin Sanchez and the next thing is here. And he took that personally throughout spring camp. And I thought he had a really productive one. And when Ohio State was tinkering a little bit and moving Jermaine Matthews in to play nickel and taking Lorenzo Styles off the field, that group of three corners then was Davison Igbinosun, Aaron Scott, and then Jermaine in the nickel. So, you look at this team, and Tim Walton believes in Scott. That was a tough, hard-fought recruitment as well. Everybody in the country wanted a piece of him. It's not like Devin Sanchez has to come in and be a savior for this group. And that means that if he does get on the field the way you're talking about, Matt, he certainly will have earned it. And I would have said the same thing, maybe to a slightly lesser degree, about Jeremiah Smith a year ago. It's like, well, he doesn't have to do this. If he does, well, that tells you how darn good that kid is and how, physically developed he is and the mature approach and all those, because Ohio State doesn't have to hand opportunities out to any true freshman. Now, maybe at defensive tackle where I think, Murph mentions Jarquez Carter in this article later on. That's sort of where I would go, because if you're talking about impact freshmen, Ohio State doesn't need a wide receiver to do that. It doesn't necessarily need Devin Sanchez to do that. It doesn't need Fahim Delane to do that at safety. They're pretty well stocked at virtually every position except defensive tackle. So if they didn't add in the transfer portal, it's not just because, Will Smith is there or Jason Moore could be stepping up, Tywone Malone. You also have Jarquez Carter there. And, he's not the highest profile recruit that Ohio State signed. And, if you look down at that ranking list, he's pretty low in just this class overall for Ohio State. So he doesn't leap immediately to mind, but you have to find where the opportunity to play exists. And I'm not saying that, well, don't expect Devin Sanchez to play. He's going to play. Mm-hmm. But he's not in a spot where he has to. And maybe that won't be the case for Jarquez Carter at defensive tackle either, depending on how those other, three guys that I mentioned developed alongside Cade McDonald and Edric Houston this summer. But, you have to factor in both of those things into this conversation, unless you're talking about a generational freaky prospect like Jeremiah Smith, who's like, well, it doesn't matter who you have. He's just going to be out there.
Yeah. Next up, we're talking about an article, Patrick Murphy on Bucknuts, some of the freshmen for Ohio State that might have an impact. We go to the offensive side and the running back room with Bo Jackson. So obviously a 4-star recruit coming out of Villa Angela St. Joe's up here in Cleveland. You still have James People, or not still have, but you have James People, C.J. Donaldson, expected to kind of do that committee role, which I know Carlos Lachlan has discussed about keeping with Travion Henderson and Quinshaw Judkins to move on. You would see instantly that Peoples and Donaldson probably would be the two. We've even discussed the I don't want to say similarities, but differences between the two, and you see kind of maybe more of a bruising back, more of a speed back. But with how Jackson kind of showed up in the spring game with the camp, and I know Murphy even brings it up too, there's the two things like any young running back that he's going to have to work on: ball security and pass protection. Mm-hmm. And those are two things that you just will not be on the field if you can't do that. If you're fumbling the football and if you're not picking up blitzes the way you're supposed to in pass pro, it's going to be really hard to find your way on the field. They don't care what your vision is, how good you are, how explosive you are. Those are two things that are just base requirements. So I kind of buy more maybe Bo than Devin Sanchez, because if he can focus on those things and get him kind of up to par getting into August camp, I think there can be some real carries for him through the season. Again, that's not to rip on Peoples or Donaldson, who are going to get the first crack at this. But I'm excited to see him get some carries coming up here.
Well, and it's those things that you mentioned, ball security and pass protection. You also aren't going to get the truest evaluation until you get into real games.
Yeah. And
Ohio State and Carlos Locklin are not going to be shy about putting him in situations where they can find out. Can he do this? Will he do this? You can get a taste of that hunger and that desire and that work ethic throughout spring camp. And really, it was hard to find any fault with that with Bo Jackson. I wasn't sure how much he was actually going to practice in March and April, coming off of an injury at the end of his high school career a year ago. But he looked phenomenal. He got enough of a head start in there in that strength program. And the other part of that equation, which is when the football is in his hands, what can he do with it? That's the part during those 5 practices that were open to the media to watch. He was phenomenal. You entered him to do something in short yardage. He did it. And he bowled people over and got into, goal line situations, goal to go. He's punching into the end zone. I remember there was just a sequence on the Student Appreciation Day scrimmage where he breaks a run to the outside, throws a little stiff arm, bounces to the sideline, gets 15, 20 yards in the red zone, and then he finishes it off a play or two later in the end zone. It's like, well, you saw the speed, you saw the strength, you saw the vision, then you saw the want to and the physicality in between the tackles down there. That part, I don't think you can really be concerned about. You know that he can do it, but it's the rest of that total package that is required to play running back at Ohio State that he may have that already, and we just haven't seen it. But I don't think that you can have dead set certainty if you're Carlos Locklin or Ryan Day or Brian Hartline until you actually get into maybe the middle of September and start to see that more. I think there's a bigger body of work to evaluate and to build around with C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples right now. But I won't be surprised at all if we get into October and you're starting to see a chance for an expanded workload and expanded opportunities for Bo Jackson, because that was about as impressive as a freshman spring camp as I've seen in a while.
All right, I want to run through the rest of the list quick here from Murph over at Bucknuts, talking about freshmen that can have an impact. Zion Grady on the defensive end side, Tavian St. Clair, the quarterback. You mentioned Jarquez Carter, the defensive tackle, Quincy Porter, wide receiver, and then Deline, who you mentioned, the safety. Any of those guys that you'd kind of circle? I know we kind of touched on a few of them as well. Porter would probably be mine, but I just think that's going to be really hard, with Tate and obviously with Mylan Graham out there for him to get a lot of catches.
Yeah, I can see it now that I just spend like training camp talking about how good Quincy Porter looks, and then in September I'm hearing he's turning a corner and he's ready to get on the field, and it just never happens.
Yeah.
And we're going to call that the Mylan Graham experience, which is anywhere else you're not having anyone blocking your way to playing time. You're taking off. You're earning freshman All-American honors. All of that. Like, that's how good Quincy Porter is going to be. But Mylan Graham is ahead of him, which is, again, Bryson Rodgers is also in this world, and Carnell Tate is in this world, and Jeremiah Smith is in this world, and Brandon Ennis is in this world. So it's going to be hard. I think it does do Ohio State some favors with Quincy Porter, where it's like, how frustrated can you be? You knew what the depth chart was when you signed here. Right. You knew it might take a year, but then by the time when you and I are talking next June and getting ready for year 2, like, look out. If you might have forgotten about Quincy Porter, you're about to be reintroduced to him real soon. I don't know what'll happen this year, but that second-year surge, because that's what I'm thinking Mylan Graham's about to do as well.
Yeah, I completely agree in that receiving core. And again, you have so much talent there. It's going to be worth the wait. That's just what I would say to him. Well, no longer for the wait, for the pulse, because we got that with Reimer coming up. Some other things we'll dive into with that. And also, really excited now to hear from Will Howard. He's out at Pittsburgh Steelers camp, and he discussed a little bit about what Ohio State means to him, and also his interactions with Aaron Rodgers. Can't wait to hear that coming up. Hour 2 of the Buckeye Show comes your way next.
1, 2, 3. Here at the Fan is always football o'clock. Proud to be your home of the Buckeyes, Browns, and all the NFL games you can handle. The Fan.
road trip. This summer at Tire Discounters, your tires are your passport to savings, because you're driving to Paris,
Texas.
Then it's off to Rome,
Georgia.
And you'll be kissing the Blarney Stone in Dublin,
Ohio.
Right now, save up to $434 when you buy 4 tires, and that includes a free alignment and oil change. Stop at Tire Discounters before you see the world.
Do you suffer from leg pain, leg swelling, varicose veins, or leg ulcers? Dr. Barry Zeta and Dr. Joseph Senta at Ohio Vein and Vascular Polaris are pioneers in the vein and vascular field. Dr. Zeta and Dr. Senta can perform minimally invasive procedures that will get you back on track to a pain-free life. Stop living with leg pain and start the process to healthy living with a free healthy leg screening. Go to loveyourveins.com or call 614-426-VEIN. That's 614-426-VEIN or loveyourveins.com.
We've got a story about a little bean doing big things. Soybeans are used in creative ways you may have never realized to make products we use every day. And Ohio's farmers are growing some of the world's best soybeans. By using and eating soy-based products, you make a positive impact locally and globally. Say hey to the largest ag export in the U.S. Learn more about soybeans at soysecrets.org. This ad brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
As America's largest custom home builder, Schumacher Homes believes a top-quality home should be affordable for everyone in the Buckeye State. We work with the leading architects to bring you the latest in design, and then you have the ability to make changes. Not just selecting finishes, but moving walls, adding rooms, literally customizing anything from the ground up. It's a misconception that custom homes have to be expensive. We work within your budget to build an amazing home on your land. Visit SchumacherHomes.com or any of our 9 Ohio locations.
There's one medical team in Central Ohio skilled enough to care for your favorite Ohio State team, and Buckeyes everywhere. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center is your choice for the most highly specialized orthopedic and sports medicine care. Our surgeons, physicians, and physical therapists have access to the most advanced treatments and innovative recovery approaches to get you back in your game. Because on or off the field, our team is your team. The choice for your orthopedic care is clear.
What is dippable and dunkable? And now at Donato's, it's Donato's new chicken dippers. Flavorful boneless chicken breast tenders served up with 7 amazing dipping sauce options, including new garlic parmesan and sweet chili. For a limited time, try new chicken dippers for just $5 on the $5 Pizza Pals menu. More toppings, more flavor, more fun. Donato's. Gotta love more.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good evening. I'm Jacob Reimer. The NBA Finals resumes tonight with Game 5 from Oklahoma City after the Thunder took Game 4 on Friday from the Pacers. That evened up the series at 2 games apiece. Tip-off is at 8:30 from OKC, and you can find it right here on The Fan following the Buckeye Show. The Stanley Cup Final will resume tomorrow night with Game 6, and the Panthers have a chance to clinch the Cup for back-to-back years as they lead 3-2 of that series. Off days for both the Reds and Guardians today. They'll begin a new series tomorrow. The Reds will return home after a week on the road, and they welcome in the Minnesota Twins for a 3-game series, while the Guardians stay out west to visit the San Francisco Giants. And Shohei Ohtani will take the mound tonight for the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's his first start since having Tommy John surgery back in 2023. Breaking sports news when it happens on The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
It's time for the College Football Pulse on the Buckeye Show.
Sponsored by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
All right, Reimer's got the stories, some coaches. Starting to feel the pressure just a little bit. Texas State and the Pac-12 rebuild. We got it all. Reimer's got it. We'll talk some Will Howard coming up in hour 2 as well. Austin Ward, Matt Fontana here on the Buckeye Show. Reimer, take it away.
All right, so we will start here with the coaches facing the most pressure in this upcoming college football season. But I'm just going to throw out just a few names, and I want you guys to tell me who of those names has the most pressure. So we've got Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. We will go with
Mike Elko at Texas A&M.
Okay.
And Sharon Moore at Michigan.
Okay, so...
Boy, is that last one entertaining.
Yeah, and it's like pressure... It's kind of weird that Cignetti and Sharon Moore are the two that I don't put in this category for pressure. And I think Cignetti because they're just over the moon about him. And they're going to be, and there's going to be an extended honeymoon period. Now, if they crash and burn this year, maybe that starts to push it. But I think they're just, I mean, come on. He got Indiana. I never in 1,000 years thought I'd see Indiana make it to the college football playoff. And he did it in like the first expanded year. So congratulations to him. So I take that off for at least now. Sharon Moore, I think he's diving on the sword for that tainted national championship, and he's going to sit out these couple of games. There's going to be pressure on him because I really question if he's going to be able to do. I know he got Bryce Underwood and all that, but like, is he really going to be able to get that program back? Because they're going to take a hit. They're going to have to take a step back, no matter what. So I think for now he's fine. So then I'm down to Elko and Kalen DeBoer. And, well, just, Austin, I shouldn't cut it off. Thoughts on my thoughts there on the two Big Ten.
No, you're building up to it.
Do you disagree with either one of those guys?
I don't disagree. I think that a year from now, because I don't believe that Indiana can sustain what it did a year ago. It was too reliant on transfer portal success. They remind me a lot of Michigan State and Mel Tucker, where that's like you're not going to be able to repeat that. They had lightning in a bottle. He had the energy for year one. He far exceeded what is normal for Indiana and what any rational expectation would have been. So he doesn't have to back that up this year. He does. It's not even realistic that he could. So they're going to take a step back, but he's not going to take any blowback for that happening. And I think it might humble him a little bit with some of the public comments and everything that went on a year ago, invoking Ohio State's name in a way that he probably shouldn't have and probably regretted in mid-November last year. I think he might, get a little dose of reality that puts more pressure on him for year three, but he doesn't have to feel any of that right now. Sharon Moore is under pressure at this very moment from the Committee on Infractions, and with his career and suspension, hanging in the balance to some extent. Once the season comes, I don't expect Michigan to be playing for a championship. I don't expect them to have a postseason life ahead of them this year, in which case Sharon Moore can either collect whatever's left of his check for the games that he's allowed to coach, or, maybe there will be a different outcome for Michigan if he is facing a show cause or whatever else. I don't know what's going to transpire there, but I think the biggest pressure for Sharon Moore is June and July, and then if he gets a green light into August, the pressure would likely be off for him in the short term. That then leaves you to two SEC programs that invest at the highest possible level, expect championships, even when they are not attainable in Texas A&M's case, and when they wouldn't have been rational to expect in Alabama's case a year ago. But you don't get – it's strike one, shame on you. Strike two, you're out at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer has to win.
Yeah. And I think with Mike Elko, like there's a little bit of familiarity because he was there prior, and then they come back. I just think also with like just still that Jimbo Fisher buyout, which was just $77 million or whatever it was, that they had to buy him out and let it go. Like they're not firing him. They're like, listen, no matter how bad this is, we, after paying that buyout, cannot get rid of Mike Elko, so we won't. I'm 100% with you on Kalen DeBoer. There's no background history with him at Alabama. That guy was just I'm sorry, that's disrespectful to Kalen DeBoer. I don't mean to do that. But he was an offensive coordinator just 4 years ago. 5 years ago at this point, right? And then he spent, a couple years at Fresno State. He played, turned Washington around. Thank God Michael Penix transferred there. And he got the Alabama job. I think it's 100% Kalen DeBoer. And at the end of this, if you're not seeing, I don't know about the record, and obviously they need to make it, but I just think, frankly, if you're not seeing Alabama football, and especially the recruiting side of it, there's going to be a change there for sure.
Okay, so as we know, all this conference realignment has shaken up the landscape of college athletics, and the death of the Pac-12 Well, until it was revived. There is a rebuild of the
Kind of,
yeah. There's a rebuild of it going on, and a team you might not be thinking about has emerged as the heavy favorite to be given an invitation to join the Pac-12, and that is Texas State. Does this move the needle for you guys, Texas State going into the Pac-12?
No.
No.
And so what is it? Boise, Fresno, Colorado State.
Boise, Fresno, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Utah State, and then just Gonzaga for basketball.
Okay, and then Washington and Oregon State. All right. The death of the Pac-12 is so sad to me, and it forever will be, because we all, some of us more recently than not, remember you just binge on football for 8 hours. You get dinner and you sit down and there's a 10 o'clock game kicking off. And it's Oregon State and it's Oregon, it's UCLA, it's USC. And you just enjoyed it. And I'm not saying you won't have that now, because you're still going to have those games, but it's just going to be Oregon versus Rutgers, and it's going to be this versus that. It's over. It's done. It's never going to be back. I'm sorry to these schools that are trying to pick the pieces up, and I feel bad for these schools that are left out in the cold because they don't have anywhere to go, and they don't have a conference because they're, again, Oregon State is not a small school. Washington State is not a small school. And we've seen them in the top 25, and we've seen them compete. So it does suck. I think this sucks that they got to try to scrap together just to find something. In reality, they're probably best off just going to join some other conference. But hey, if they want to try to make this work with the Pac-12 and 8 teams that nobody really is going to watch, and I don't know who's going to pay their media rights, God bless them and good luck, I guess.
Yeah, there are details about this Pac-12 and Mountain West saga that you have to read and see to believe. It is more convoluted and disastrous than I can describe to you during the Pulse. And I only know that just because of Wyoming's involvement in how they somehow did not just absorb Washington State and Oregon State and take that money and capitalize on that with the rest of the Mountain West as a whole, not just Wyoming, because they're one of these teams that you mentioned, Matt, that are out in the cold. Well, why Texas State would be a fit for that league and to establish new rivalries. Like Wyoming and Colorado State is one of the longest standing rivalries in college football, period. Now they're on opposite sides in different leagues. They all could have just stood together and said, well, you know, you've got that money over there, Pac-2. We've got these teams that actually have existing traditions and a broadcast deal and partners and places where people could watch the game. You don't have to start over from scratch, but they just could not come to the table and find an agreement. And now you're in a situation where you're scrambling to fill it out. As you mentioned, Rhyme Time, Gonzaga for basketball, Texas State, because what they've had a brief glimmer of hope in college football. You're going to add to the Pac-2, Pac-12 future. It's idiotic to me. But does it move the needle? No, only in a negative way.
So it only needs one more all-sport member to join in time for the 2026-27 school year to be eligible to exist as a full NCAA conference.
So dumb.
And it's like Gonzaga, can we do a little bit more something so that we're not just a basketball? But that's what Gonzaga is.
No, they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
I don't blame them.
I don't blame them.
They want to spend all $20.5 million on their basketball roster.
And that's fine. And that's where they carved out and it's like, again, bigger conversation than the Pulse right now. But yes, I think they're doing the right thing, but they're going to have to try to find their niche. And I got crazy ideas on how they can do it. They're going to have to get weird. They're going to have to do something to get people to watch and to people care about it. But yeah, let's get the other institution and let's make it legit.
Well, and are they struggling to find another school to like a Wyoming to potentially join? Like, are they just declining that and they have to resort to not to knock Texas State, but that's nothing compared to, for example, Wyoming. In my opinion,
and I'm just going to.
I couldn't agree more, Rhyme Time. You've hit the nail on the head.
You got it, and that's I'm gonna succinctly also go off your point here and jump off and say this. Would you rather? It comes back to this. Would you rather be the 9th guy, or man or woman, 9th team in a big SEC, Big 12, I guess? All right, put it that way. Would you want to be the 7th team in the Big 12 or the number 1 team in whatever version this Pac-12 is? The clear answer is you'd rather be the 6th team in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And they all want to be that. Or the 9th team in the SEC or the 9th team in the Big 10. They would all to strive and want to do that. It's more money. It's easier. There's better recognition, better recruiting, all of that. That's why this Pac-12 is just going to have the most uphill battle that you could ever imagine to actually get off the ground. And also, for it to be around in 5 years. Good. Go through all this stuff. In 5 years, what's going to happen? They're just going to poach the rest of these schools. Oregon State, Washington State up first as soon as there's an opening at some other school. Or everybody just breaks off and football becomes their own thing.
Yep. Can't argue any of that.
Can they just take Stanford and Cal back from the ACC?
Yeah, well, okay, what bothers you on that is the name, isn't it?
Well, just that and just cross-country travel for the ACC, and I didn't think I'd have to stay up. I haven't yet, but I didn't think I would have to stay up till 10 o'clock midnight to watch a North Carolina basketball game.
And you didn't want to watch Duke and Stanford play football?
Right.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
That doesn't move the needle for me.
How unusual. I don't think anybody else watched it either.
That's fine. There's your basketball school that gives a little care about football. How'd that work out?
Great.
How did that work out? They get one good run in them every 7 years. 7 years to crack top 25, and you don't hear from them again. That's just kind of how that goes.
That is the nature of college football right now. That just sums it up. That Duke and Stanford are in the same football conference.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah.
How did we get here?
And Syracuse and
what is this madness?
Miami, and just sprinkle it on. It is crazy, and that's where it's actually, I think they cannibalize themselves on this because of the rush of conferences for the sake and the name of a conference. Like you said, Reimer, they need one more for this Pac-12 to become a legit NCAA conference, right? They have these rules that you got to have X number of member institutions, you got to have your endowment, you got to pay all this money, right? It's all fake. It's all phony. It's all a bunch of BS. And frankly, it always has been. When the top media people sit down with the Big Ten and they negotiate their big money contracts for all their TV games, let's call it for what it is. They want Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, on the off chance Wisconsin or Michigan State is good. They don't care about Rutgers. They don't care about Illinois, at least for football. They don't care about some of these small, we got to lump everybody in. We got to take the whole conference instead of everybody. It's a sham. It's all phony. And the NCAA wants to keep this stuff up at conferences and, conference. And again, other sports, it matters. I get it. Football is completely different. And that's why I just think the best thing, and eventually we'll get there, is football is just going to break off and do its own thing. Conferences be damned. Everybody schedule whoever you want to play, fill your schedule out, and play a 16-game playoff.
Yeah, I do think that there's a world where the House settlement gets us closer to that. And
I do.
We spent a lot of time last week breaking that down, Matt. And, I think you could have probably, and everyone listening out to the Buckeye Show last week could probably sense the shift in my mood as it went along. I think that there are a lot of answers that I didn't immediately understand, first and foremost, or could apply to the future for how this model was going to work with the NCAA on one hand and the College Sports Commission on the other. But, and I do think that's also what Ross Bjork's press conference really helped. I wish that more college sports administrators involved in that process had spoken out in the way that he did last week to help explain some of these things. It was like, well, if you shoot down NIL Go, it actually feels like it's well protected because this is a federal case and federal jurisdiction. Like, we feel good about that. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe you're right. Maybe there will be a lawsuit, but that they won't be able to win it. That's good for the health and integrity of college athletics moving forward. I think that there are steps towards all of that, and maybe that will lead us down that road of clear-cut rules that apply just to college football, because there already are other sports governed by the NCAA, like baseball, that have NFL eligibility rules and things like 3 years in college before you go that are different than other sports. College football needs that more than any other sport that exists.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to hear from Will Howard coming up. He's out at Steelers camp, but he reflected a little bit about his time at Ohio State and his interactions with Aaron Rodgers. We'll get to all of it coming up. Buckeye Show right here on The Fan.
All the 10 TV people come over to our side of the building to take a deuce. That should tell you something about how we operate. The Fan.
At Kroger, we've lowered prices on over 1,000 items across our stores so you can save even more. Whether you're shopping in-store or online at Kroger, we've lowered prices on thousands of the items your family wants and needs. And with lower prices, your dollar goes further every time you shop with us. Kroger. fresh for everyone.
Right now, pork back ribs or Tyson boneless chicken breasts are on sale for $2.99 a pound with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Hi, this is Ron from the Good Feet store. Are you standing on painful feet all day? Don't lose hope. We want to help you live without pain. Discover your options and visit goodfeet.com. Or stop in today at the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway in Grove City.
Hey, it's Timmy Hall for Central Ohio's most trusted and experienced group of orthopedic experts, Orthopedic One. They helped me with my hip pain, and I trust they can help you as well, because Orthopedic One is where you go to get better. Find a physician or location at www.orthopedic1.com.
Hello, I'm Ross Bjork, Senior Vice President and Eugene Smith, Wolf Foundation Endowed Athletics Director at The Ohio State University. In partnership with AEP, Donato's, Kroger, The Ohio State University, Wexner Medical Center, Huntington, and 10 TV, Ohio State Athletics strives to inspire the community to make a positive impact on children and families in our great state through the Buckeyes Care Initiative. Show and share your support in the community by using the hashtag Buckeyes Care.
It's game day at Raising Cane's. If you want to order like a Buckeye, it's the action off the field you need to focus on. The only play you're running is chicken. So what combo are you picking? Make it a perfect season. We've got tailgates of hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce. And jugs of freshly made tea and lemonade. All available to order online or on our app. This season is about to be unbeatable. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love. Proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Attention Columbus. Town Properties just clinched the title of the largest residential property manager in Columbus, thanks to the Columbus Business Journal. With pride, we oversee 25,000 plus households in the Columbus metro area, ensuring fantastic places to call home. Whether you're on the hunt for an exceptional living space, a top-notch association management company, or a property manager for your multifamily portfolio, visit our website at town.properties.com and let us elevate your living experience. Town Properties, always managing great places to live.
Experience Buckeye Game Day like never before. Welcome to the 1922 Club, the most exclusive space inside Ohio Stadium, where luxury meets tradition in the heart of Buckeye Nation. Enjoy upscale food and beverages and a game day atmosphere like no other. Create lasting memories with friends and mingling with other Buckeye fans, and celebrate every OHIO in ultimate comfort. Become a member of the 1922 Club today. Memberships are limited. Visit OhioStateBuckeyes.com.
Bishop and Friends.
She was in the throes of it, or either just finished or about to commence the throes of it. Yeah, I did see it. Probably just leave it at that. I did see it.
Bishop and Friends, sponsored by Diamond Seller.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on The Fan.
Health insurance companies are expected to carry health benefits, but CareSource does so much more. We look beyond doctors' offices and hospitals to see the challenges that face our members. Then we help them achieve not just better health, but better lives. Along with great benefits, we also help our members find stable jobs, housing, childcare, and rides so they can find greater independence. At CareSource, we're removing barriers. We're improving lives. We're reimagining healthcare.
Hey, Ohio State fan, are you ready for game day? Get hyped and get your crew going with the Buckeye Meal at BK. For $20, you'll get one juicy flame grilled Whopper sandwich, one original chicken sandwich, 2 mouthwatering cheeseburgers, 3 crispy golden small fries, and 3 refreshing small drinks. Grab your $20 Buckeye Meal today and share the taste of victory. At BK, have it your way. You rule. Limited time only at participating Ohio area restaurants. Tax extra. BK is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Plenty of clouds around, slight chance of a late day shower or storm, warm and humid, temperatures around 80. Overnight, we'll keep the warm and humid weather going down to around 70 for the start of your Tuesday. And during the day, temperatures back up into the low 80s with a slight chance of a late day shower or storm. With your 10 weather impact forecast, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz on The Fan.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend this show. The other dentist is a Michigan fan. Yuck. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
No matter what, when Ohio State sends a player off to the pros, you always keep tabs on him. You always root for him. unless they join your arch and bitter rival. That makes things a little bit harder. It's not the first time a Buckeye has gone to the Steelers. Cam Hayward, Ryan Shazier, Santonio Holmes, just to name a couple. But nonetheless, it is Will Howard who's playing for the Steelers. He talked about his time there at Ohio State and his interactions with Aaron Rodgers. He's Austin Ward. I'm Matt Fontana right here on the Buckeye Show on The Fan. And it was so interesting to hear kind of Will Howard talk about it. And he said that his time at Ohio State changed his life in more ways than he can say. And he said, Coach Day and these guys completely changed it. I've been developed here like I've never been developed before. And that's something that, as a guy that spent most of his time at Kansas State before transferring in, and Ohio State's had big transfers. We'll talk about some of them coming up here in a little bit on the show, actually. But, I just think that was so powerful to hear a guy that only spent a year here, yet it sounds like, and he even talked about he's having his youth camp outside of Columbus. He talked about having a home in Columbus. Just that impact in the 1 year obviously meant a lot to Will. But, Austin, we hear that from a lot of guys when they get that opportunity to come to Columbus.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that he had a negative experience at Kansas State by any stretch of the imagination. It's a reality check, and Ohio State, when we say this a lot, and sometimes it can feel like hyperbole or just the fact that we're here, this is the team that we cover, but this level of support from the coaching staff, the level of support from the fan base, the NIL opportunities that exist in Columbus, all these things are at a different level than anybody else. That is why when we say Ohio State football is recession-proof and why it's such an aberration when they have a slightly poor season that's now 13, 14 years in the rearview mirror, why it stands out. Because year after year after year, all those other pieces put them in place to contend. Kansas State has good coaches. Kansas State has good athletes. They've had really successful seasons every now and then. It's just more difficult for them to sustain that without the same recruiting base, without all of the other perks that I mentioned that come with being at Ohio State. Now, Ohio State has built some of that. It's not all natural to them. But when you make that move over, we saw that with Will Howard in real time as he transformed his body, as he got the coaching and the decision-making, the accuracy, the on-field development. You could watch all of that happening with Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Billy Fessler a year ago. And now at a different position, I'm watching the same thing happen with C.J. Donaldson, where it's he had 4 years, and you look at him, it's he's going to be a goal line short yardage specialist for the Buckeyes. He's almost 250 pounds. And then he's here for 3 months, taking advantage of the nutritionist and taking advantage of Mickey Marotti, and he loses 25 pounds, and he's got Carlos Loughlin working on this thing and the other thing. It's Ohio State has it at a level that very few programs can come close to. And when these guys have an opportunity, they make the most of it. They're mature guys. They thought that they were doing everything that they could, and they were maybe maxed out at a place like Kansas State or West Virginia. And then there was another level unlocked in Will Howard that did change his life. And it did come with 3 championship rings and now an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh and see if he can build on it there.
And that's where just that little bit of time, again, it's not to talk bad about his time at Kansas State, but it's a little more recent, but it's also the thing that really helped him get to where he's at right now, and that's for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's hear from Will out at Steelers camp, and the first question here was his interaction with Aaron Rodgers. So Rodgers just got there. He got just signed. People thought, Mason Rudolph might have to play. Maybe even Will would get some reps. But here's Will Howard at Steelers camp talking about his interactions with Aaron Rodgers.
They've been awesome. He's a great mentor. Has already treated me with the utmost respect and just been really good to me. And a guy like that, he doesn't have to do that. So I really just appreciate him being willing to kind of take me under his wing a little bit and give me pointers and tips here and there. And there's already some things that he's said to me that have already helped me. So I'm just excited to learn as much as I can from that guy and take everything that he says and try and put it in the bank, and just continue to learn every single day and get better, because that's what being a rookie is about.
That was Will Howard talking about his interactions with Aaron Rodgers. Let's flip it over now. Let's hear from Rodgers and his thoughts on Will Howard.
Will's a good kid. We've got to talk a little bit. I thought he did really well today. He seems pretty bright. Not too big for him, going through the progressions really well. But yeah, I'm going to be with him every single day and every single meeting. Found my seat next to him today in the offensive meeting. Whether or not that sticks, right next to Will Howard. So I'm going to help him out as much as I can.
I think that's the smart thing for the Steelers. And I get that there's a lot at play in this, Austin, where Rodgers, might not relish that role of, like, I was thinking about Josh McCown. Josh McCown, at the end of his career, his job was literally to mentor young quarterbacks. Yeah, he had to play, but it was more about mentoring. We're dealing with that up here in Cleveland. Joe Flacco is more like, hey, I'm getting ready to play, not so much mentor these guys. Aaron Rodgers got to get ready to play, and that's priority number one. But if he's just willing to, at times, help out Will Howard when he can, that's your best recipe for the Steelers. I mean, you drafted Will Howard for a reason. It's not to say that Mason Rudolph can't win you games here and there, but you got a pretty good idea who he is and who he isn't. I'd say as much as Aaron Rodgers is willing to do that, and as much as Will Howard can grasp it without becoming overwhelmed, you hit the gas on that and that relationship and trying to help out each side of it, frankly.
My question is really just how long Aaron Rodgers will actually do that. It's easy to do it for a week, maybe even easy to do it for a month. But, go back to the start of Aaron Rodgers' career. He wasn't given that opportunity and a great mentor in Brett Favre. And I don't know if that shaded his own outlook and influenced the way that he's approached some things since then. But I don't think anyone would go ask Jordan Love, hey, what did you think of your time around Aaron Rodgers? Would you like to go back and do that again? I don't think anybody enjoyed that in Green Bay. That certainly wasn't the reputation, since then with Aaron Rodgers the last couple of years. And maybe Mike Tomlin's culture and Pittsburgh's culture are enough that they can win out, and Aaron Rodgers will be a great role model and influence for Will Howard and pave the way for the future. I know for certain, based on my time around Will Howard, that he is a straight shooter, and I believe him when he says that that's how it's been for the first week. And when it's not that way, I bet he says it, if it gets to that point. So I hope it doesn't. I hope that I hope that Will Howard gets the mentorship that he wants, and the Steelers lose every game until he becomes a starter. So that'd be my ideal outcome there. But, I hope it works out, because I think Will Howard deserves that opportunity and should get the most out of it. And maybe Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career can leave a different kind of legacy and make a mark that sets up maybe the Steelers for the future, or at least Will Howard when he goes somewhere else and is allowed to win games.
And the tough thing is Will Howard, not the third overall pick, not a first-round guy like that. They can set that aside and say, hey, this is probably your number one. If he develops, it's great, and that's some bonus there for the Steelers. They are going to try to win games with Aaron Rodgers, and I'll join you on that, Austin, just because I can't stand the Steelers. I hope they lose every game, too. I really do. Maybe different reasons to get Will Howard in there. I just hope the Steelers lose every game that they got coming up. Well, speaking of coming up for us, I thought this article was so interesting, and I can't wait to get through it with Austin. The most impactful transfers in the portal era. It's not just Ohio State. And there's some names on this list that you forget about. I know I did. There was one that I'm like, man, I forgot he transferred into that school. We'll run through it. We'll do it next. It's the Buckeye Show, back in 2 minutes here on The Fan.
I think I just wrote the song of the summer. Listen. That's just you drinking a Big Gulp from Speedway. And just 89 cents for any size with Speedy Rewards? That's a hit. The convenience stores of Speedway. Valid through 6/24/25. See app for full terms.
Sun, splashes, and nonstop fun await at Zoombezi Bay.
Get your 2025 season pass for unlimited thrills,
including our all-new conservation tower. Buy now at ZoombeziBay.com.
At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, we're here to help keep you on the road so you can soak up all the summer fun. The road tunes.
Take me out to the ball game.
Hotel pools. Emergency ice cream stops. The sunscreen and bug spray everywhere.
It's in my eyes.
At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, we're here for it all. So stop in for a quick oil change before you go. Only takes about 15 minutes. No appointment needed.
At Kroger, an annual Boost membership is better than ever. Save up to $1,100 each year on gas, groceries, delivery fees, and streaming options. With double fuel points, unlimited free delivery, and exclusive savings for members, there's so much to love about Boost. Sign up for a Boost membership today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Soy has been keeping secrets, and it's ready to share.
Soybeans are among the most versatile agricultural products. They are used in creative ways you may have never realized to make products we all love and use every day. Ohio is leading the way, developing new uses for soybeans to support our changing world. Soy low-key slays, and I'm here for it. Learn more about soybeans at soysecrets.org. This ad brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
The Buckeye Show is sponsored by CareSource, proud to be your home for Ohio State Athletics. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
It's time for your daily dose of vitamin B. B stands for Buckeyes, just in case that wasn't clear. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
This is an interesting one to get through from CBS Sports, where they rank the top 10 transfer portal impactful transfers. And I think we have unfortunately just punched, I don't know about punched, I think we have detonated a hole into this list, Austin, as we run through it. It's the Buckeye Show right here on The Fan. Don't forget, NBA Finals action coming your way as soon as we wrap up in about a half hour. Austin Ward, Matt Fontana with you. So they ran through this list from CBS Sports by Cody Nagel, and he did the top 10 most impactful transfers of the portal era. And I'm going to cherry pick here. He had Jared Verse on there from Florida State after he transferred from Albany, right? Jamison Williams left Ohio State, goes down to Alabama. That was at 8. Jaden Daniels leaves Arizona State, goes to LSU. I'd say that worked out. Travis Hunter was 6. Caleb Williams, 5. Caleb Downs at 4 for Ohio State. Kenneth Walker, who was the one that I forgot, transferred from Wake Forest to Michigan State and had an electric 2021 season for Michigan State crew. He is 3. Justin Fields, going from Georgia to Ohio State, is number 2. And at number 1, it's Michael Penix Jr. Left Indiana, goes to Washington. Austin, Reimer and I were just talking about this. Where is Joe Burrow on that list?
So all I can figure, because as you mentioned, we just spent the previous segment talking about Will Howard, who also transferred and then wound up winning a national championship at Ohio State.
I didn't even think about that.
So I feel like I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say that they're excluding graduate transfers. I think that has to be.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I think that has to be the solution, because otherwise you're leaving out two national championship winning quarterbacks.
I know he was hurt. I know he was hurt at Indiana and might have had like extra eligibility. But
I don't know if he was a graduate transfer.
Maybe not.
Well,
I don't know.
That would blow up my theory. I don't think he was.
Okay.
But I guess we'd have to double check on that one.
Yeah, right. Or tweet at us. Somebody let us know if you're listening on that. But yeah, I was like, I guess that makes sense. Like they'd have to basically be an undergraduate transfer, which would fit for almost all the rest of them there. But it was interesting that there were basically 3 Buckeyes on the list: Caleb Downs, Justin Fields coming in, Jamison Williams heading on the way out. But
Penix was 4 years at Indiana.
Oh, okay, wow.
But the 1 year he only played, like he might have redshirted. But no, yeah, then he would have graduated because he was there for 4 years. He would have graduated.
Well, you would assume so anyway. But
yeah, that's true too.
Maybe that blows up my theory. I don't know, but
I just that seems to be, and even like you said, if it's graduate, then you would understand both Howard and Joe Burrow. But like, and I get that you could do this list just based on quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ryan and I were talking about this. What about Quinn Ewers? I know they didn't win a national championship, but he transferred there and got him to a semifinal game.
2 of them.
Maybe should have won the one. I just I get that you're going to skew that a lot heavier towards quarterbacks than maybe some of the other ones. And the other thing, I to be honest with you too, like Travis Hunter at 6, I think he deserves to be bumped up on that list.
It's pretty impactful to go win a Heisman Trophy, play 2 ways, basically revolutionize positional football for a program that's not really known for that in the last 30 years at Colorado. What's more meaningful than that? Like, Penix didn't win a national championship.
I love how we were just picking apart this list.
I'm sorry, and I feel bad doing it because I think it's a really interesting exercise.
It's fair, though, because he says while player movement existed long before its official launch in October of 2018, that's when Burrow hit the portal. Am I wrong?
No, you are correct.
Yeah.
He spent 2 years there.
Right.
As sometimes people forget.
And sometimes they will put in the article their parameters of their list. So you would think that he might write, Joe Burrow, Will Howard don't count because I'm only doing undergraduate transfers, like to put that in there. But he says they're high impact transfers. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
the impact of Jared Verse compared to Will Howard, like, what are we talking about?
What are we doing? And that's the thing. It would probably be dominated a lot by quarterbacks, and the quarterbacks are the ones that you see the most movement about. But I don't see how you even, okay, let me put it this way. If Joe Burrow ain't going to be on this list, then Caleb Williams should be on that list either. Like, Joe Burrow had immense more impact at the school that he went to than Caleb Williams did at USC. Caleb Williams had more hype. I get it. He was the prize of Lincoln Riley, and I understand that he went and won the Heisman, but Joe Burrow won a national championship. Maybe selling him short because he had all the skill around it. I don't know. I don't know how you don't put him on this list of impactful transfers. I don't get it.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, well, it's still an interesting one to put through because, like I said, I forgot that Kenneth Walker started at Wake and, Justin Fields, obviously. And even, Reimer and I were talking about the Fields kind of saga about, why he wanted to leave, Georgia. Ohio State had to get a lawyer involved to get him his immediate release, the issues that he was having with the baseball team and things like that ended up getting him out and getting him to Ohio State, which, again, kind of was after Burrow had already kind of left. But just as that's gone on, where Ohio State has had this run recently of obviously transfers, and that's not, Dwayne Haskins was a recruit, C.J. Stroud was a recruit, but Kyle McCord was a recruit. But it has been a couple of transfer guys kind of mixed in there for the Buckeyes. And I know Tavion St. Clair is sitting there kind of waiting to see whenever his spot comes up at saying now, probably going to start, is also going to be a transfer. And I think for that position, that might be the one that I don't mind just saying we're going to spend a lot of time in the transfer portal on. Because you have guys, there is only one position. There is only one guy out there that's playing. And guys can go to schools. Like, I'm actually really kind of surprised that Arch Manning waited it out as long as he did. I thought he'd be out of there trying to go. So it's like, if you're going to pick a position that a lot more schools are focusing their efforts and resources on that transfer portal, you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket. You still want to recruit well. But the quarterback position is one, Austin, that I wouldn't mind saying, if we need one really bad, we can go find one there in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and Ohio State's in a position where it doesn't want to rely on the transfer portal at quarterback. But if there's a gap in the development plan, which is what happened, the best laid plans included Kyle McCord starting for 2 years at Ohio State, and that didn't work out. And I think a mutual parting of ways actually wound up being beneficial for both Kyle McCord at Syracuse and for Ohio State when they found Will Howard. But the reason that you don't rely on that is it sort of depends on what the extraordinary trait is, to use the Ryan Day terminology for that. The offense is not easy to run. I think that for whatever reason, this keeps coming up with like systems and Ohio State doesn't ask its quarterback to do a lot when you get to the draft combine conversation. Yeah, they do. Those guys are getting an NFL-style offense from someone who has been an NFL coach and is frequently courted by NFL teams to be a coach or coordinator at the next level. Ryan Day knows what he's doing, and he does not make it easy on his quarterbacks. And so to think that, anyone off the street in the transfer portal could come in and operate Ohio State's offense that efficiently, or that Will Howard didn't achieve something, is really kind of insulting. And so Will Howard's mental makeup, I think, allowed him to go do that in a way that not many others could. And the extraordinary situation for Justin Fields was he's one of the best athletes that you're ever going to see. Mm-hmm. So, the ability to use his legs, the arm strength. He also had that really high recruiting profile. Was a little bit of a unique situation for him as well. So the Buckeyes don't want to live in that world. And the Julian Sayin situation sort of dropped out of the sky and into their laps when Nick Saban retired. But, they want these guys to spend multiple years learning the offense. They want guys that are challenged by the atmosphere and the environment and are okay sitting there, potentially waiting their turn. The Arch Manning is a unique situation, but, Lincoln Kienholz is now in year 3 at Ohio State. Julian Sayin didn't just immediately leap ship in December and January when he wasn't tabbed as the starter coming into this year. So these guys have a good feel for that. And Tavian St. Clair is not going to rush out. That's one of the benefits then of not just Ohio State's approach, but also having a local kid who is in the program. So the end result is that Ohio State's not looking to go back into the transfer portal at quarterback. But when they do, to your point, Matt, it's a very specific set of skills that they're looking at and evaluating, and they won't live in that spot every single year because that's not their preference, and they shouldn't have to, especially in this new NIL in-house settlement order of business. They should be able to build up and line up the dominoes the way they want.
And again, it's a great backup, to have and to be able to kind of supplement when you need to. And it's just like regular recruiting, too. If you got a top transfer portal player and Ohio State's calling, you're usually going to take that call and hear what they have to say. And then again, you just add them into a room with so many other talented players, it'll all work itself out. We had to get to hashtag Buckeyes coming up. Ohio State basketball on the docket for that. And I do want to revisit a story we didn't get to a little bit earlier when Ross Bjork talked about why women's volleyball was included in the revenue sharing. What's all that coming up right here on the Buckeye Show on the Fan.
Wake up with the Fan. Eat lunch with the Fan. Go to bed with the Fan. Dream about the Fan. Then change your sheets. Gross.
Ew, you guys are gross, but stick around in case I don't find anyone else.
The Fan.
Working your way through that honey-do list? That means more flushes, more showers, more fiddling with the thermostat. Trust the pros at the Waterworks with your plumbing and drain cleanings and repairs and all your heating and cooling needs. Our certified pros can repair or replace your furnace or air conditioner. Clogs? Call the Waterworks. Drain cleaning? Call the Waterworks. Plumbing issues? Call the Waterworks. Furnace repairs? Call the Waterworks. The Waterworks. Trusted neighborhood plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling experts.
Boating season is finally here, and Buckeye Lake Marina is your go-to destination for all your on-the-water needs. With the largest inventory in Central Ohio, you can choose from top brands like Bennington, South Bay, Crown Line, and more. Buckeye Lake Marina has it all. Pontoon boats, luxury tri-toon boats, even merch. Open 7 days a week to serve you better. Find your next dream boat at Buckeye Lake Marina. Visit BuckeyeLakeMarina.com today for all your on-the-water needs. The good life, the lake life, starts at Buckeye Lake Marina.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
AgPro has been family-owned and operated for over 64 years. We take pride in developing long-lasting relationships and offering first-class customer service. Need a new tractor, parts for your used equipment, or reliable service? AgPro has you covered. AgPro is here to serve you and your operation as your hometown dealer. Visit us today at any of our AgPro locations or go online to agproco.com to get started with your AgPro experience.
There's one medical team in Central Ohio skilled enough to care for your favorite Ohio State team, and Buckeyes everywhere. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center is your choice for the most highly specialized orthopedic and sports medicine care. Our surgeons, physicians, and physical therapists have access to the most advanced treatments and innovative recovery approaches to get you back in your game. Because on or off the field, our team is your team. The choice for your orthopedic care is clear.
Go behind the scenes of one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of college athletics with a tour of Ohio Stadium presented by Experience Columbus. A seasoned redcoat will be your guide as you make your way through walls of the stadium, into the press box, and onto the field. Upgrade to the VIP package and get special access to the band center and the Ohio State home locker room. From corporate outings and school groups to single-person tours and small families, Ohio Stadium tours offer a variety of options and pricing. For more information, visit ohiostatebuckeyes.com and book your tour. Ohio Stadium Tours, presented by Experience Columbus.
Rothman and Ice.
It's Beyonce and Destiny's Child. Beyonce said, you know what, Kelly, Michelle, I'm good. You're going to say my name with all my other hits I'm making solo.
Rothman and Ice. Weekdays at noon.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus.
The Fan.
Matty Ice here from McDaniel GM Superstore in Marion. Are you looking for an affordable family car? Then the Chevy Traverse is for you. This month at McDaniel GM Superstore, you can get up to $3,000 off MSRP on a 2025 Traverse. Plus, qualify by buyers can finance at 6.8% for 72 months. They are just a short drive north of Route 23 in Marion, or you can visit McDanielGMSuperstore.com. McDaniel GM Superstore, where great deals meet a century of trust. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Do you suffer from leg pain, leg swelling, varicose veins, or leg ulcers? Dr. Barry Zeta and Dr. Joseph Senta at Ohio Vein and Vascular Polaris are pioneers in the vein and vascular field. Dr. Zeta and Dr. Senta can perform minimally invasive procedures that will get you back on track to a pain-free life. Stop living with leg pain and start the process to healthy living with a free healthy leg screening. Go to loveyourveins.com or call 614-426-VEIN. That's 614-426-VEIN or loveyourveins.com.
All your favorite fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Social media can be a cesspool. Allow us to navigate the waters. #Buckeyes.
Sponsored by The Waterworks. Call the plumbing, heating, and cooling technicians at The Waterworks and header today. Call 614-232-2222. Proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Got some basketball, got some volleyball to mix in here on the Buckeye Show, presented by our great friends at Coors Light. Austin Ward, Matt Fontana alongside, completely random and off topic quickly. You guys, where do you rank the airport beer? Good friend of mine who enjoys Coors Light, by the way. He was flying out today for a vacation, and he's like, airport beer gets slept on.
I think that's Beamer's favorite.
Is it? Well, Beamer's been on vacation.
I think it has the officially endorsed stamp of approval by everyone at this station. It is. There's not much better.
There's not much better. It doesn't matter. It always hits. Doesn't matter if it's 7:30 in the morning. Pour it on up. Let's get on the plane and let's get rolling.
I mean,
all right,
you know how good it is because of how much they charge you for it.
Oh, that's true too. It's all about location.
Yep.
And I've even though I don't know why there's something weird about the food too. Because I've had some bad meals in airports, but you always think it's a lot better off because you're just excited. To get on your plane and wherever you're going. And then the other flip around, too, is like when you're coming home and like that dread of like, just get me home. I don't want to be here. I just want to get on this plane. And then you have a beer just to like try to speed time up. It works both ways. It really works both ways. Same things with coffee, too. Because like I talked about this on T-Bone and Tyvis when I was filling in with those guys a couple weeks ago. And I was like, I can't start my day without my coffee. I can't make it without mine. I'll have an afternoon cup if I can. The airport coffee is one of the top-ranked coffees. I don't mix it with my beer. There's a separation there, but the airport.
I was gonna say we're getting into some dicey territory now.
No, that was an old Drew Carey episode. He got famous for making a coffee beer and called it Buzz. So, but not doing that. But both ranked pretty high for me. All right, #Buckeyes. And we had the vet camp going on, Austin, out there for the Buckeyes on the men's basketball court. Shout out to Adam Jardy of the Dispatch. He had some great pictures. I was kind of scrolling through, like D'Angelo Russell was there, Malachi Branham, Bryce Sensabaugh, looked like E.J. Liddell. I think Costa Koufos was there, Greg Oden, and, just something that they always do it every year for the vet week and bring back some of their alumni, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. And a lot of money walking around in that facility, which doesn't hurt as a recruiting tool either. So cool that they're continuing that stuff. Got that going on all week. Jardy said there'd be a lot more content coming for that at the Dispatch. So good for them. This basketball program, I think, could use a dose of good news for a few days after the rough sort of stretch that they had to start June.
Yeah, Hero and Grucic are officially signed, by the way. Miles Hero is Tyler Hero's younger brother, and Matthew Grucic coming over from France, Barcelona FC. They're officially Buckeyes and ready to go. One article we didn't get to earlier, I wanted to bring up that Ross Bjork speaking on why women's volleyball was the fourth sport to be included in Ohio State's revenue sharing. So they come out, they detailed their plan for the $20.5 million, which are really about B18. Because Ohio State is going to be adding, is that not 91 scholarships?
91 scholarships, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Good for them. So they'll be adding a lot of scholarships, but then that $18 million gets divided up amongst 4 programs to start. Men's basketball, football. They go women's basketball, but they included volleyball. And Ross Bjork kind of spoke on this to say it's mostly just that Big Ten volleyball is some of the best in the country, and they really think it is a growing sport quickly, and they want to be able to take advantage of that and get Ohio State, up there. Not to say the Buckeyes have been bad, but again, Big Ten, one of the best volleyball conferences you can find, and to be a part of that, and especially a growing sport, I get it.
Yeah, and if you don't fund it, then you're liable to fall behind against some of these other programs because you know that Nebraska is going to fund it. You'd assume that Penn State is going to have some funding there, UCLA, USC. I mean, there are, everywhere you look in the Big Ten, there are traditional, prestigious volleyball programs that compete at a high level. And, Rossberg didn't detail all of the metrics that they used to determine this, but they didn't make these decisions by accident. So I would think that some combination of the competitiveness of that conference, the upside, and then a lot of these games are on BTN and leaned on by the television partners. So there must be, and I haven't looked at it, so I'm sort of shooting from the hip on this one, but Ohio State would not have done this if there wasn't good reason and logic behind it. I would think that they believe that there's upside. These games, at the Covelli Center, taken, my wife and daughter in them, they get really raucous atmospheres in there. It's fun to be there. I've seen some big games. They had Texas in there for a season opening series a couple years ago. They had a great time at that. So it's a cool venue. And if more people are tuning in on BTN than I realized, even better. But if there is upside that they can tap into, Ohio State wouldn't be spending that money unless they thought that they were going to get a return on it, which doesn't sound like the way that we would traditionally talk about college athletics, but that's the way of the world now.
That is where we live with everything going on. And I would imagine there's some wiggle room to make changes in the future if they wanted to. And I'm not just saying that they would cut it, but if they wanted to add a fifth, and I know that's less money, for the rest, but we also assume, like most quote-unquote salary caps in sports, that's going to go up. Like, I assume this revenue sharing number is going to continue to grow up, so there's going to be more growth for some of the other sports. And I don't mean to cut it this way, Austin, but I will to say, for the other sports, give us a reason. Yeah. Give us a reason. Find that area why you think you deserve to get a piece of this, and we're very willing to listen to it and keep an open ear for it, and know that things can be on a changing from year to year and pretty much an ebb and flow type situation.
And that, not to get too far into the financial weeds here, because there's still a lot about this that I don't know, even coming off of that 75-minute explainer from Ross Bjork last week. But, there is a chance that by next year or 2 years down the road that the NCAA or CSC won't hold programs or charge them for the scholarship number. So that $2.5 million could then come off the books or could be used. It's not going to come off the books. Ohio State's going to spend it one way or the other. It just might not be scholarship money that has to count anymore. There's some ongoing debate about how that's going to work. So then that could free up more money. It could go to football. It could go to the women's hockey program, which has proven to be one of the best in the country in a national title contender year. Who knows? But that could be the piece where it could be a fifth sport or a sixth sport that could get added. I mean, Ohio State doesn't have to stay at that level of 4 either. I assume that they will, and they would be looking to add to that if they get some of that money freed up. But that'll be the stuff that you follow year over year, is how they're going to allocate it, where, how, why, when, and all of that stuff is going to be the new order of business for the athletic department.
And the thing is, again, as it's all going to change, Ohio State's going to probably always be at that max number, and just know that they're willing to share the revenue. And at the end of the day, too, we had a massive amount of scholarships added. So you're having kids that are able to go to school. I shouldn't say kids, student athletes, young men and women that are going to school for free when they would have had to have been paying. And I'm sure there's plenty of them that are grateful just even for that as it all continues to grow on. Guys, I've had a ton of fun doing this. Beam's going to be back tomorrow. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate everybody that tuned in over last week plus with Austin Reimer and myself here on the Buckeye Show. We got some NBA Finals coming your way next right here on The Fan.
Common Man, a radio veteran, has a large hemorrhoid. Timmy Hall, a good, clean boy, moonlights as man's hemorrhoid. Common Man and Timmy.
Weekdays at 3.
The Fan.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
Bands are us when dreams don't get in. Bands are us.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel, plus low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsareus.com. 380-225-BATH.
Baths are us. When dreams don't get in, baths are us.
It's Kubota Orange Days. From America's #1 selling compact tractor to zero-turn mowers and versatile RTVs, get your perfect match delivered to your door. Now through June 30th, get 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,500 off BX23S tractors. See the details at KubotaOrangeDays.com.
Visit BuckeyeKubotaDealers.com to find a dealer near you.
They're trained. They're prepared.
Let's do it.
They're Ohio's undefeated plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling team. And they're here to tackle your problems. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
What is dippable and dunkable? And now at Donato's, it's Donato's new chicken dippers. Flavorful boneless chicken breast tenders served up with 7 amazing dipping sauce options, including new garlic parmesan and sweet chili. For a limited time, try new chicken dippers for just $5 on the $5 Pizza Pals menu. More toppings, more flavor, more fun. Donato's. Gotta love more.
Come on over to Heartland and join our family.
Now, community banking is the lifeblood of the American financial system, building strong, lasting relationships. We're just better able to help guide you down life's road. Flexibility is paramount to success. Community banking is alive and well in the Heartland.
I'm Scott McComb. Come on over to Heartland, where banking really feels good.
Where banking feels good. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.